Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Vishal from Maharaja Agarsen University, Badi, Himachal Pradesh. Today we are going to discuss about the module Rural Entrepreneurship under the paper Tourism and Hospitality Entrepreneurship and Legal Environment. After completing this module, students, you will be able to understand the concept of rural entrepreneurship. You will be able to understand the need for rural entrepreneurship, the problems of rural entrepreneurs, and we will also discuss the role of NGOs in developing rural entrepreneurship. Mahatma Gandhi said, India lives in villages and its true spirit lives in rural areas. India is principally an agrarian economy. About three-fourths of the Indian population lives in rural area, and out of which 75% is still earning its livelihood from agriculture and its allied activities. There is a wide gap between the economic activities of the rural and urban people. Rural population is more or less dependent on agriculture, whereas industries are exclusively located in urban areas. Moreover, the growth in agriculture sector is much slower than industry, which widens the income level gap between both. Further, the relationship between the agriculture and industry has a dependency structure which puts the rural area at more disadvantageous position in terms of gain and thus leads to poverty and backwardness. Therefore, there is a need of the rural development which can best be done through rural entrepreneurship. Now, we will discuss the concept of rural entrepreneurship. Rural entrepreneurs are the one who carry out the entrepreneurial activities by establishing industrial and business units in the rural sector of the economy. Rural entrepreneurship can be defined as entrepreneurship rising at village level, which can take place in a variety of fields of venture such as business, industry, agriculture, and acts as a powerful reason for economic development. Industries coming under the purview of Khadi Village Commission and also known as KYIC are treated as rural industry. According to KYIC, village industry or rural industry means any industry located in rural area population of which doesn't exceed 10,000 or such other figure which produces any goods or renders any services with or without the use of power and in which the fixed capital investment per head of an artisan or worker doesn't exceed 1,000 rupees. To enlarge the scope, the definition has been tailored recently by the government. Accordingly, any industry located in rural area, village or town with a population of 20,000 and below and an investment of rupees 3 crore in plant and machinery is classified as a village industry. Village industries have been grouped into 7 categories as follows: mineral based industry, for example, stone crushing, cement industries, red oxide making, wall coating powders, etc. Forest based industry, for example, wood products, bamboo products, honey, core industry making eating plates from leaves. Agro-based and food-based industry, for example, sugar industries, zessery, oil processing from oil seeds, pickles, fruit juice, spices, dairy products, etc. Polymer and chemical-based industries, for example, manufacturing of aloe vera, gel, ball pen ink, agarbatti. Engineering and non-conventional energy-based industries, for example, agriculture equipments. Textile industry, for example, spinning, weaving, coloring, bleaching, etc. Service industry, for example, tractors and pump setters repairs, etc. Rural entrepreneurship is classified into 4 types of entrepreneurship, that is, individual entrepreneurship, group entrepreneurship, cluster formation, and cooperative. First of all, we will discuss individual entrepreneurship. It is the type of entrepreneurship where the single entrepreneur is the owner or the sole proprietor. The entrepreneur bears the whole risk and is solely responsible for the business decisions. Group entrepreneurship. It is mainly classified into 3 types, that is, private limited company, public limited company, and partnership. Private limited company. In this case, minimum 2 members are required and maximum members are 50. The financial capital is divided into shares and shares are not sold to the general public. Therefore, such companies are generally small in size and are owned by the families. Liability of the shareholders is limited in such companies. Public limited companies. In such companies, minimum 7 members are required and there is no maximum limit. Being a public limited, it can raise money from the general public. There is a separation between the control and ownership. Shareholders are the owners, but they do not take active participation in the running of the business. The control of the business is in the hands of the board of directors. Partnership. In this case, there is no individual owner and the business is handled by partners, maximum of 20. For the partnership, mutual trust is a must and all the partners should complement each other for common goals and objectives. Partnership companies are easier to form and provide large resources, but it has unlimited liability on the partners. Cluster formation. It is a formal and informal group of people to achieve common objectives. It includes NGOs, VOs, SHGs, and CBOs. We'll discuss it one by one. NGOs, non governmental organizations. These are non-profit organizations sponsored or formed by the government and are registered under the Societies Registration Act 1860. A minimum 7 people are grouped together for the socio-economic growth of the people. These are the formal organizations and usually receive funds from the government. Voluntary organizations. These are the organizations generally initiated by the individuals to serve the society and for the socio-economic development of the people. These organizations may or may not register under any act. Such organizations are generally sponsored by the NGOs or the government. Self-helping groups. These groups are mainly consist of 10 to 20 people and are formed with the objective to mutually help each other. These groups are sponsored by the NGOs, VOs, and sometimes by the government for the socio-economic development of the backward people. It is an informal organization. Community-based organizations, CBOs. They are informal in nature and are formed with the objective to enhance the bargaining power of the community. People from the common living are or from the common community come together with the common objective of upliftment of the community. Cooperative. According to the International Cooperative Alliance, a cooperative is an autonomous association of persons united voluntarily to meet their economic, social, and cultural needs and aspirations through a jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprise. Need of rural entrepreneurship. There is a need of rural entrepreneurship to develop the rural economy. Rural entrepreneurship is needed because of the following reasons. Employment generation. Rural entrepreneurship is a labor-intensive and requires large number of human resource. Therefore, it has a large potential of employment generation and can reduce the problem of unemployment in rural areas. Income generation. By providing employment, rural entrepreneurship has potential for income generation and thus bridging the gap between the rural and urban disparities. Rural development. Rural entrepreneurship helps in setting industries in rural areas and thus leads to the employment generation and income generation which directly help in rural development. Curbs rural-urban migration. Rural development helps in curbing the rural-urban migration by reducing the unequal growth in cities. Environment friendly. Rural industries are more environment friendly, thus leads to the development without damage. Builds up village republics. Development of the rural industries serves as an effective means to build village republics and thus make them more independent. Improved standard of living. As rural entrepreneurship helps in income generation, which helps in prospering the community and thus improving their standard of living. Balanced regional growth. Rural entrepreneurship directs the concentration of industries in rural areas, which leads to the balanced regional growth. Scope of rural entrepreneurship. Rural entrepreneurship is active and is opening new scopes for the entrepreneurs and are discussed as follows. Rural area has the capacity of small and medium enterprises, and these sectors act as the economy builders by generating employment and income for poor and unemployed people and is contributing more than 52% of the GDP. Moreover, there is a rapid expansion in the small and medium industry arena. Therefore, repair shops, service centers, PCO, internet cafe, hiring of agriculture implements and tractor, computer and other skill training centers have good scope in cluster of villages. Entertainment, cable TV, rural tourism and amusement parks are also some of the potential areas for rural entrepreneurs in service sector. Various development programs are being executed through Panchayati Raj institutions who are engaging contractors for civil or mechanical works. Rural youth can start this business. Changed consumption pattern has opened up new avenues for trading activities in rural areas. Rural areas are also using large amount of agricultural products like fertilizers, seeds, pesticides and insecticides, etc. Problems faced in the growth of rural entrepreneurs. Rural entrepreneurs face large number of problems like illiteracy, risk factor, improper training and experience, limited purchasing power and tough competition from urban entrepreneurs. Various problems faced by rural entrepreneurs are scarcity of funds. Rural entrepreneurs find it difficult to get external funds due to the risk involved in the rural industries. Moreover, the procedure to avail loan facility is too long and cumbersome that its postponement often disappoints the rural entrepreneurs. Competition. Rural entrepreneurs face tough competition from large scale industries and the urban entrepreneurs as their cost of production is high due to high input cost. Middleman. As there is small market available for rural entrepreneurs, so they are heavily dependent on the middleman for marketing of their products and thus middleman exploits rural entrepreneurs. Legal formalities. As rural entrepreneurs are illiterate and ignorant, so they find it extremely difficult to comply with various legal formalities in obtaining licenses. Moreover, the legal formalities are so complex and time consuming that it becomes tough for the entrepreneurs. Procurement of raw materials. Arranging raw material is really a tough task for rural entrepreneur. They may finish with poor quality raw materials and can also face the problem of storage and warehousing. Risk element. Rural entrepreneurs face tough competition from large scale industries and do not have large market available for them. Therefore, have much less risk taking capacity due to shortage of financial resources and external support. Lack of technical knowledge. Rural entrepreneurs suffer a problem of lack of technical knowledge because rural people are illiterate and lack of training facilities, which acts as hurdle for the rural development. Lack of infrastructural facilities. Though government is putting its best efforts, but the growth of the rural entrepreneurs is not very healthy due to lack of proper and adequate infrastructural facilities. Poor quality of products. Rural entrepreneurs produce inferior quality of products due to lack of availability of standard tools and equipment and the availability of poor quality raw materials. Negative attitude. The environment in the family and society is unfavorable to support rural people to take up entrepreneurship as a career. It may be due to lack of awareness and knowledge of entrepreneurial opportunities. Advantages of rural entrepreneur. There are various advantages of rural entrepreneur which are abundance of resources, easy availability of labor, tax advantage, low investment, employment, slow down urban migration and meet demands. All these advantages are discussed in detail one by one. Abundance of resources. Rural areas have abundant natural resources including land, water minerals, and solar power, and also wind power. Moreover, land is easily available at cheap rates. Easy availability of labor. Semi skilled and unskilled labor is easily available, and low wage rates increases the vulnerability of rural areas for industrialization. Tax advantage. Tax burden in rural area is low, which increases competitive strength of rural industry. Low investment. Rural industries can be started with low investment and production can be done at a less cost due to easy availability of resources. Employment. Rural industries generate jobs in the developing countries like India, where the unemployment is the main problem. Slow down urban migration. As rural industries create jobs, therefore, it slows down the rural urban migration, which creates problems in urban areas. Meet demands. In developing countries like India, where the population is extremely large, rural industries can help in meeting demands arising from local consumption needs. The role of industries is of vital importance in our country due to the above mentioned advantages. Developmental strategies for rural entrepreneurship. While developing strategy for industrial enterprise in rural areas, it is necessary to take into consideration the totality of rural reality in terms of resources, physical and human, as also environmental. It is believed that these are the approaches which can be used for formulating strategy for rural industrial enterprise. Harmonize government efforts. Government should synchronize its initiatives with some NGOs or the agencies working for the rural development so that policies can be implemented in a perfect order for the rural growth. Technology development. Provisions should be made to provide the rural population with the latest technologies so that rapid development can take place. Basic training for prospective rural entrepreneurs. Prospective entrepreneurs must be identified and basic training should be provided. They should be motivated by telling the success stories of the different entrepreneurs. Skill enhancement training programs. Such training programs should be provided to the rural population so that skilled workers can be available for the rural industries. Modern infrastructure facilities. It is necessary to create modern infrastructural facilities in the rural areas so that entrepreneurs can be attracted. Credit supply. Banking and non-banking agencies should provide the funds at cheaper credit and at short terms and conditions. Coordination between small and large industries. Collaborations should be encouraged between small and large scale industries so that cheaper products made by small industries can be marketed at large scale. The training imparted to the rural population can be divided into three types. Number one, stimulation, conducting workshops and trainings for the rural population to stimulate the entrepreneurial attitude amongst them. Number two, counseling, providing counseling and consultancy services to the rural entrepreneurs regarding project analysis, selection of an idea, preparation of business plan, etc. And number three, assistance, providing help to the target group in financial support and providing market for their products. Role of NGOs in development of rural entrepreneurship. Today, we have large number of the NGOs working for the rural entrepreneurship. The main NGOs are National Alliance of Young Entrepreneurs, World Assembly of Small and Medium Entrepreneurs, Xavier Institute for Social Studies, Seva of Ahmedabad, Y Self-Employment of Calcutta, Awake, Association of Women Entrepreneurs of Karnataka, and Rural Development and Self-Employment Training Institute based in Karnataka. NGOs functioning for the rural entrepreneurship can be classified into three types: primary level, secondary level, and grassroots level. Primary level NGOs. These are the NGOs who assemble their own resources and implement developmental activities on their own and works at international level. Example: ActionAid, Oxfam, Christian Children Fund, etc. are some of the best examples of primary level NGOs in India. Intermediate NGOs. These are the NGOs who arrange funds from the external agencies and impart training and conduct workshops for the target group. Example: Seva and Awake are examples of intermediate NGOs. Grassroots level NGOs. These are the NGOs who make direct contact with the target group and work at the grassroots level. Example: such NGOs are Rutsati's Anarde Foundation, Indian Institute of Youth Welfare of Maharashtra, etc. Role of NGOs in development of rural entrepreneurship. Rural entrepreneurship is one of the most important factors for the rural development to remove the problem of unemployment and poverty. Therefore, It is the need of the hour. Government has taken many initiatives for the rural development and started various self-employment and poverty alleviation programs like Pradhan Mantri Rozgar Yojana, IRDP, TRYSEM, etc., which proved ineffective due to the improper execution of the programs. For the rural development, one has to be at the grassroots to identify the problems and then find the solutions, and this can be done only when one is in the contact of the rural population. Such a situation necessitated the need of the NGOs to join hands with government and find the problems, and thus helps in the execution of the programs implemented by the government. Government therefore collaborated with NGOs to reach the actual problems of the rural population. The NGOs can prove to be a boon for rural entrepreneurship due to the following reasons. NGOs works at the grassroots level so they are near to the rural population, which helps in understanding them well. Their experiments with the community can help in developing policies. Working of the NGOs is flexible, so they help in formulate appropriate solutions and can tailor to meet the individual needs. NGOs concerns with the rural poor so can reach at the remote locations where it is not possible for the government to reach. Due to their flexibility, they have the capability to innovate and adapt using technology transfer and settle them according to the local conditions. NGOs also suffer from certain weaknesses as following. NGOs' primary job is to work for the social development of the community, so there can be role conflict. NGOs have limited capacities, therefore their projects are limited in area. They are dependent on other agencies for funds, therefore donor pressure may create problems. The NGOs structures are becoming bureaucratic in nature, leading to the reduced efficiency in the overall development. In spite of the weaknesses, the role of NGOs in entrepreneurship development cannot be undermined. There is a large number of evidences which shows that NGOs in India have succeeded largely in imparting entrepreneurial skills among the weaker sections of the society. So students, let's now summarize what we have learned in this module. Rural area has a widened potential which can be harnessed by developing appropriate strategies for the rural entrepreneurship. Rural entrepreneurship has incredible opportunities, but due to lack of infrastructure and awareness, people don't prefer rural entrepreneurship. Moreover, the glamour of urban life has so widened that people prefer to migrate to urban areas than starting enterprise in rural areas. Coordinated efforts of government along with various agencies are required to achieve the goal. Therefore, rural entrepreneurship will help in developing the rural area by employment and income generation and thus developing the economy. Thank you very much.